Hey, Steve Mignani here doing the junkyard crawl at Bernardston Auto Wrecking in Bernardston, Massachusetts. Now, we often do a lot of Chevys, Fords, Mopars, but not a lot of AMCs because we frankly don't see a lot here in the junkyard. But this, well, this is a 1975 American Motors Hornet. Now, we all know that today Dodge-Stellantis is about to relaunch the Hornet as a crossover, sort of like a little SUV. There's even a GLHS version of the Hornet coming up, a little muscle vehicle. Well, in 1970, American Motors revisited the Hornet name as well. These were built between 70 and 77. But here's the thing, just as Stellantis is reusing a great old name today, so too did American Motors do the same in 1970. You gotta remember, in the early 50s, Hudson made a car called the Hornet. They were huge in NASCAR. The Flock brothers made them legends with the twin H power. And so the second generation Hornet, if you will, from 70 through 77, we see it right here. Now here's the thing, these were available as two-door posts, four-door sedans, a hatchback, and even a station wagon. And never a convertible, of course, but the punchline is, in 1975, of the 85,961 Hornets built, only 12,392 were two-door posts like this one. Now this is an original paint baby blue vehicle, and something that's kind of interesting on AMC products going back to I think 1967 or 8 is they all use the same flush mounted door handle, this thing right here, which didn't protrude into the airstream, but rather was almost like an airplane type deal, flush mount like that, but the same basic structure was used. It was kind of an AMC styling quirk. Now again, this is a two-door post, but here's the thing, this one is a 75, it has big bumpers, but here's the car when it first came out. This is Car Life September 1969. Here at the top, that's the Hornet when it first came out. A little two-door post, and again, pretty tucked in nose on this thing. Same front fenders as the Gremlin, which also came along in 1970. But inside of here, we'll find the story of the Hornet when it first came out. And there it is right there. Of course, Hornet was American Motors' effort to take on Maverick, Chevy Nova, Dodge Dart, Plymouth Duster, and the Hornet replaced the Rambler American, which was last seen in 1969. So it was kind of an evolution. And it says here, long hood, raked windshield, short deck complement the styling without causing excessive overhang or cramping passenger space. Wider track, front and rear, not only helps the handling, but gives a brawny, self-assured stance to the car of a size that too often winds up looking like a football on a roller skate. Well, American Motors would do that a couple years later with the Pacer in 1975. But again, the Hornet was a unit construction vehicle. Top right, we can see the empty shell right there. And again, like all AMC products, no subframe or no frame underneath, it was all one thing. The 304 V8 was available right pretty much to the end, 304 cubes, and there was even something called the Hornet 360, which was made in 70, 71. And those things had like 245 horsepower, I think 280 horsepower actually with the 4-barrel. This ain't one of them. Let's take a look and see what we do have on this here. Okay, yeah, 6-cylinder engine, which is pretty typical stuff. We take a peek under here, we can see this one is a 1975, so emission controls are beginning to enter the scene. This thing right here, down below the carburetor, that's the exhaust gas recirculation valve right there. This thing would open and allow a certain amount of exhaust gas to get back into the intake charge for a second burn for cleaner tailpipe emissions. Did nothing for performance, but it was something that was creeping in. Catalytic converters were right around the corner too. Power steering on this one here, 119 bucks, well spent. Manual drum brakes. We can see the non-booster back there, and again, it's a drum brake car. And yeah, this is the 232. How do we know that? Well, American Motors vehicles have an emissions sticker on the firewall, and right down here we can see 232 right there. It would also potentially say 258 or 304, and the 258 was another $69 over the 232. And here's the thing, of the 85,961 Hornets made in 1975, only 8,075 had V8s. In other words, the vast majority were six-poppers. But something new for 1975 was electronic ignition. In fact, here's the distributor cap here, and we lift it up and we can see, look Ma, no points. And right there we can see here's the reluctor wheel, the pickup right there for the magnetic trigger or the optical trigger, whatever they have. But no points anymore for 1975 onward on the AMC 6-banger. No need to maintain the points. Little hotter spark, little cleaner emissions, kind of. But again, pretty typical. This is the base engine. No 4 cylinders in Hornets at this point in time, although a little later on the Concorde and I believe the Spirit, they could be had with a GM 151 4-banger. But this is also the same basic vehicle that later became the Eagle 4-wheel drive vehicles in 2-door, 4-door wagon contingent. Now inside this one, let's see, we'll trade places here so you can go on around me. And again, the two-door post body style, pretty cool. I like them. Although the same basic roof structure was also used on the four-door, just with shorter doors. But here's the original checkerboard plaid type twin semi-bucket, semi-bench interior. Automatic on the column, and the transmissions in these things were called torque command. But check this out. From 72 on, they were supplied by Chrysler. So there's a little Chrysler 904 torque flight underneath the floorboards. The only difference is the bell housing on the AMC torque flight had a specific shape that was meant to handle the AMC engine. So they're similar inside, but the case is a little bit different. Here's the the glove compartment with the Hornet logo right there. And this one's a pretty basic car, again, 232. The automatic's an interesting surprise. These were generally seen with 3-speed manuals, no 4-speeds in these things. But as we go to the back, we see this one still has the fender flares. These were seen in 70, and they're kind of cool. As you get into the, on a Hornet 360, the SC 360, these things look mean, but on this car, they look a little weird. But down here, yeah, the classic American Motors 2-piece axle shafts. That nut right there tells us this has a press-on flange, not a 1-piece axle. Kind of problematic in some cases. If you want to service the brakes, these things can be stuck and require a puller. But that's AMC stuff going all the way back to the 1940s. So yeah, two-door post. Let's look in the trunk, see if we can find anything cool in here. Oh yeah, a Regina vacuum cleaner. And look at this, all these, are these bundles of cocaine? No, they're not. Not weed, these are newspapers. Look at this, looks like some kind of contraband. No, these are actually, I think, home for sale flyers that never get sent out. A lot of times these vehicles were used by postal agents or people who were making the rounds sending out telephone books or whatever. So these things never made it to their location. But you can buy houses for as little as $29,000. Those were the days, 1975. But that's the story of the American Motors Hornet, the second go-around for the Hornet name. Hudson Hornet, AMC Hornet, and now, of course, the Stellantis Dodge Hornet crossover SUV. So this is an AMC product right here on a Junkyard Crawl. We'll try to do more as we find them. But in the meantime, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and we'll see you again tomorrow for more Junkyard Crawl.